Good afternoon. Next up, we have
Hello.
Magdalena Bukała joining us. Magdalena is Diversity, Inclusion and Social Responsibility Manager at Akamai. Good afternoon once again.
Hello. Hi. Thank you very much for having me. But I
It's
also
great
wanted
to
to
have you
thank the
with us.
audience. Thank you. I wanted to thank the audience also who have decided to join us today, and not only this session, but in general, the conference.
We couldn't be more grateful for that. And we're really happy to see also that so many people find this topic to be not only interesting, but very much relevant to whatever it is they're doing in their companies. Today, with you, Magda, specifically, we are addressing the following question. What is required to run a successful global program, expand the diverse candidate pool, and promote inclusive hiring? Can you give us a little background of your experience in this territory? It's a big territory, isn't it?
Yes, it definitely is. So I'm going to be talking about a program that I'm running in Akamai. The program is called Akamai Technical Academy. So maybe I will just give a quick overview of how the program has been launched and what does it really entail. So the program has been started about 5 years ago now. It's actually going to be the 5th anniversary next year in January. And the program is dedicated to people who have the aptitude for technology, but might not come from traditional technical backgrounds. So imagine that, let's say you're a teacher, right? You have been working in the teaching business for 15, 20 years, but you always had this passion for analytical things. You always had this passion to work in technology. But still, because of how life is, you made different choices, and it just didn't turn out to be this way. So we figured that we wanted to do a D&I initiative, D&I related program that would allow people with great analytical skill set, but without this technological background, to join our company. And the program is pretty long and very intense. So in general, the program takes about 11 months. The first 5 months are devoted to intensive training on Akamai premises. So we are actually hiring all the training participants full time. For those 5 months, they are going through different modules related to everything that there is to know to start working in our business. So you have modules like history of internet, programming, web applications, and others. And next to that, a list of soft skills training, everything that is going to allow the participants to really be strong on their feet when they finish the program, and then hit part 2, which is a 6-month-long internship in one of Akamai teams. So this is a really, huge time commitment. But for us, it was important first to focus on D&I. So 70% of people who graduate are female, and 70% of, in general, the groups are female. And so far with the program, we onboarded 140 participants globally. So I think that's definitely a lot.
And it's definitely quite unusual and extraordinary in many ways. You've had like 8 editions in 3 countries, so it's not Poland specific, is it?
It's not Poland specific. We started in Cambridge, Massachusetts in the US, and 3 editions happened there. We also had 2 editions run in Costa Rica. So it's really a global program, right? And then we had a couple editions happening also in Krakow. And the last one I'm going to hopefully also had a chance to talk about maybe a bit later is the 8.0, so the last edition that happened. Actually, it was a co-located edition, and we launched it in 2 locations at the same time, knowing that there's a 7 hours time difference. So we did a common class between Krakow and San Jose in Costa Rica.
The reason, Magdalena, why I find your efforts very unusual and especially interesting from my limited perspective. I used to run a big CSR department at a big multinational company for several years, and it was a long time ago, like 12, 13 years ago. And I can tell you back then, when I attended CSR conferences all over the country and abroad, I would hear about banks boasting they send their employees to paint kindergarten fences, and that being a smart way to handle CSR. So relevance clearly wasn't there. In many instances, which is not to say all, of course, some CSR initiatives were really commendable. But in your case, it's like taking CSR to the next level. it's not only relevant, but you're really opening new opportunities for people who have landed in accidental jobs straight from university, and then they are rethinking themselves and wondering, perhaps there's something really very different I would like to do. And over time and over their first jobs they discover, they have some different skills as well they would like to explore. And then there is this iconic brand, international brand, working with the biggest brands worldwide when it comes to the internet age, to say the least, and streaming. And then they tell you, we will invest 11 months of our time and infrastructure and expertise to help you shift to a new world. That to me sounds especially interesting, because they could just as easily say, okay, these are the skills we need. We are not keen to spend money on training people to get those skills. We want them from the market, and we can get them from the market. Can you comment on that?
Yeah. Oh, plenty. But I can talk about this program for hours, because this is something that I treat, more as a mission. And so I also kind of, in my project team, I just like to surround myself with people who really understand just exactly what you said, that there are so many more things that can be done for the community, because we have, and you probably can confirm that we know plenty of people, we have plenty of friends who are actually wasting their potential away, right? Because they're working in the jobs that they are not really suitable for, jobs that they don't really like, and so on. But at the same time, Akamai is treating diversity more holistically. So we are really after people with certain aptitude for technology, and everything else, the knowledge I would claim right now is quite cheap. I know it from my own experience. You can go online and you can do boot camps and so on. You can do all sorts of things, and you can, find the sources of information, right? But the difficulty here is definitely the time that you have to spend on that. So if you would want to, start everything from scratch or invest in a new career, you would probably have to do it, every evening for a number of months, if not years, right? Especially if you want to start working in IT.
And it would be extremely difficult to stay focused, not to get distracted by all the knowledge available on the internet.
Yes, especially also if you're a caregiver, right? You have a family and so on. You also have to pay your bills, right? So it's all of those things that we had to think about before we launched the program. We wanted to remove those obstacles. So everyone who is participating in the academy is quitting his previous job. So this is also a risk, from the organizational perspective, but at the same time from the participants' perspective, because they're just quitting whatever they were doing and they're starting from scratch, doing something entirely new. So we pay them the salary, but this is also an 8.5 hours a day time commitment. So they really, really study a lot. They have to give their best to be able to complete the program. And, it really pays off in a number of ways, as I can prove.
Magdalena, it sounds almost too good to be true. So read the small print part to us.
No, but there's none. So this was actually my question. I wasn't born yesterday, right? So I also had learned a lot during my previous career. And I kind of assumed immediately when I started, because at first I took the coaching job of the cohort. So I was thinking, okay, there have to be strings attached. Probably we're signing a loyalty agreement, because why wouldn't we, right? That was kind of natural to me, that if we are investing so much time and effort into training participants, there is certain risk associated with that. So we're probably signing a loyalty agreement, and we're not. And I've been with the company for 2 years now. No, we're not. And I can tell you that the attrition rate, and this is something that has been proven, the attrition rate in terms of the candidates who pass and go through the ATA, in comparison to the regular staff that we hire through the market, is at least 10% lower. So the guys who go through the ATA, they just in general stay in the company. And I was,
It's almost tempting to ask you about your company's attrition rate now that you've given a 10%, but you don't have to share this data.
It's publicly shared, so no difficulties here. But I think this is just the market average, right? Market average. So probably nothing major, because everyone, as I could talk about the vision and the mission of the company, but it all plays an incredibly important part in keeping those guys after the ATA. So I can tell you that after those 5 months of training, they are already perceived as people that are of an interest of different companies, because we are not the only ones who go after talented people, right? But because we created this program, because we are investing so much time and effort, and also for different reasons, the fact that there's a huge network of ex-ATA graduates who are right now spread all over the company. We're talking about 140 people. So that's a lot of people, right, that can help you. They really take care of each other. When participants join during the internship phase, different teams, they also immediately know whom to reach out to, because they're spread among different teams in Akamai, globally as well. So it's a huge network of people who support each other. That's important. But there are plenty of other things, like the fact that, during those 5 months, the coaches are really working intensively with every single participant. So we just want to make sure that they're really going to feel strong, that they're going to feel, that they have the confidence to be presenting in front of clients, as some roles require that, and so on. What happens then is that after we finish the training period, we send the guys off to different teams. And this is actually the test point for me. This is exactly the place and the time when the participant feels like, okay, let's see if the manager has the same mindset, if the manager is also understanding inclusiveness and diversity as my coach did. Because the coaches are kind of like the team leads for a while, right? So will I feel the same? Is everyone going to be treating me the same as all the other employees? Although I don't have the technical experience as such, not yet. But at the same time, I don't want to be treated any better, because, hand-holding is also not very welcome, right? We want everyone to feel treated equally. So they go to the teams. Yeah?
Yes, you mentioned you asked them to join teams, which is really a biggest moment, so to say.
Yeah.
The question is, how do you choose them for the program before they are asked to join teams?
It's a group effort. So the first step in terms of the recruitment, we are testing actually only two things, only two things. We are testing the analytical skill set, and this has nothing to do with IT-related knowledge, because this is everything that they're going to be learning during the course of the training. And the second would be their English language knowledge. And from that on, I just make sure that I get to know every one of them. So for the second round, we have usually around 80 participants who would want to, start working with us in the academy. So I just do a lot of group exercises. We have a project team that is working with. Yeah.
My questions will not be as easy as that, I'm afraid. Let me stop you there for a while. Analytical skills. Fine. I'm sure, given your past life experience, given your past life experience as a coach, I'm sure you have already persuaded quite many people to give it a try, to log on your page, find the program. Tell us more about those analytical skills you're testing.
So the tests in general, they are no different than the regular tests that you can do just online. There are no tricks, no strings attached. This is nothing that you're trying to put, you're spending 5 hours solving different puzzles and so on. Because this is, I would say that the final step of recruitment is very much intuitive. I work with many people. I know who's suitable for the program and who's not. And it's not that I'm also a human being, right? So I assume that sometimes I have to choose between two good candidates. But the last step of recruitment is not different than any other recruitment that there is on the market, because with people who have similar skill sets, you're just looking for the person who you think intuitively might be the best fit for the program. So I'm not going to give you any tangible data. Yeah.
Let me make it just a little more difficult for you. We all know that employees and employees to be newcomers are extremely practical in approaching their future jobs, which means they go to different fora, they read about what it's like to work in the company, and then they try to actually obtain a physical copy of any recruitment process material so that they can feel prepared, because they know that if they fail the first time, the second time will not be any easier, probably, if possible, at all. So if you were just to give us a slightly better idea of what to expect if you want to get there, because you understand the paradox there. You're giving an opportunity to people relying on the skills they might be having. Based on your experience, you're able to predict what kind of skills you're talking about. But the paradox, the irony of the situation is they themselves, for a long time in their professional careers, were not aware they had those skills in a way. Because clearly they stayed in. Yeah. Please comment.
But partially, and I'm gonna explain why. Most of the people who sign up for the program did some things on the side. So this is not the requirement, definitely, but this is kind of the reality that we're faced with. So some of them were developing web pages, others were programming on a side. So the interest in technology was actually there, right? So they all know, or most of them know, that they possess some sort of analytical skill set that we are after, but also for the tests, because, okay, I understand that you really want to get this, the idea, right, of how to get accepted to the ATA. For the English test, we always tell the guys that it would be good to run like TOEFL tests, do something online, just check yourself with whatever is available. For the analytical skill sets, these are just numerical tests, kind of data analysis component to that. So can you, in a limited amount of time, make good data-driven decisions? So that's it. Like, I would say that the second part for me is more critical, because then we have 80 people and we need to make a decision within a couple of days of who is suitable. That's why I also rely on the project team and the talent acquisition team, everyone who's helping me, also the managers who are actually going to be recruiting later on or getting people out of the program. They're also participating in the actual recruitment piece for it, because we just all want to make sure that we're going to choose the right candidates for this specific cohort.
Magdalena, we have only 2 minutes left. Could you elaborate a little more on the D&I aspects of this process? And my second question would be, you mentioned 80 people deciding in a couple of days only. How has the COVID reality changed that?
Wow, that's a lot to put in 2 minutes, right? So first, the diversity, as I mentioned, we know that we are not the only ones who are after the talent on the market. So that's why we decided to grow our own. Because also there's this cool sentence that I really like underlining. We believe that not everyone can be a great engineer, but a great engineer can come from anywhere. So that's the underlying notion of the whole program. With the COVID situation, I just gotta say, it is definitely not easier, but I treat it kind of as a different way of doing things. And I believe that I actually burned under lucky star, because as I mentioned, the 8.0 was a semi-virtual model because we had those two groups, right? So we already had the solution tested yet before the COVID happened. So we're just going to continue with that. I'm making adjustments as I go, just to make sure that, for example, the serendipity is going to appear also in the virtual world. So there are a lot of components that I'm taking into account and consideration, but I'm pretty sure that we're ready to take it on, and that's just another challenge that we're going to be facing.
On the funny side, it was really fascinating to hear, because at first when I asked you about the skills required and the transition that you squeeze into those months of preparation that you spend money and effort on, you mentioned, these are just typical analytical tests, basic skills are tested, etc. At the end, when I kept pushing you, said, then there are these numerical tests, largely data analysis and stuff. So we went all the way from people thinking, I might give it a try, to, it might be actually a bit more difficult than I thought originally.
So I think, maybe on the last comment, maybe you can give it a try. You can test yourself and see if it's really this difficult. I think with the volume of people who actually go through the test, we haven't heard many complaints that it is too difficult. However, we also want to make sure that we have the right candidates. So this is also a good test for the candidates to know if they are suitable for the IT as a business, right?
After all, you're putting a huge organizational and intellectual effort also into bringing this program to the market, which in itself is unique and commendable. Congratulations on that. Magdalena Bukała, it's been a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for finding the time.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.